recently, and I'll put the link to that recording below in the video description, we discussed what a living wage is and how building service contractors can use a living wage program when they respond to proposals, how they can land more jobs, more work, and get more revenue from a program like that. Today, we're going to look at how a BSC, a building service contractor, can get this done, what it takes, and answer some questions that many of you might have about this process of implementing a living wage program into your company. And whether you're a company or a facility, this information will apply to many in our industry, the broader ISSA audience that we serve. So today we have three guests, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves because each one of them has a specific part in this. We have two from a building service contracting company and one actually from the living wage program that we're going to discuss, someone that works in that field. So Frank, let's start with you.
Good afternoon, Frank Wardzinski, Chief Operating Officer for Bravo Building Services, and work with clients on developing and implementing facility cleaning solutions.
And good day, everyone. My name is Karen Martinez, and I'm the president and founder of Bravo Building Services. I ensure that all of the processes and people that we put in place do what they should do every day. So glad to be here. Thank you.
And my name is Biko Nagara. I'm the Chief Program Officer for Living Wage for us, and I'm really heading up the certification work and the certification program for Living Wage for us. Thanks so much for having us, Jeff.
Well, thank all three of you for being here. This is important information for anyone looking to use this type of program. So we have Biko, who's from the Living Wage for us, and two building service contractors, perfect folks to talk to about this topic. So my first question is this, and in line with our previous recording, let's briefly touch on this. Why should building service contractors consider alternate living wage proposals? And maybe Frank and then Karen could speak on this. Frank?
Sure. So in our industry, BSCs typically are bidding market wages, and many a times those wages are below a living wage. And so for us, we believe that there's an opportunity to partner with many clients based on their values and their mission as an alternate to be able to increase the wages that our teammates and employees are being paid.
And Karen, what could you add to that?
Agreed, Frank. So when Bravo was started 25 years ago, and being fairly new in the industry, I had learned very early on that most folks in our industry do not get paid for days off, whether it's holidays and, even sometimes on vacation or sick days at the time. So, the whole reason for actually even forming Bravo was really to start paying people what they should be paid, what's in the contract. And what's really interesting is when clients started to be introduced to that concept, more so in the last 4 or 5 years, they really embraced that wow, what is it that you're doing for your customer, for your employees? And it made a lot of sense to them. And it's just when customers are socially responsible to do the right thing, they want to ensure that the contractors that they have on site also are doing the right thing. So we're seeing it more and more today where clients are really understanding that the people that come into their facility are the fabric to their team, their culture, who they are. And it's just a smart way. It's a good business acumen just to continue to do the right thing. And for customers that aren't aware of it, to give them that alternative.
Biko, have you ever heard of this company, Bravo?
The Jansan sector is pretty new to me because I've been working in many different sectors, from seafood, agriculture, manufacturing. I'm actually, one of the things I really love about this job is I do get to meet folks in so many different new industries that I haven't engaged in yet. And so I was really excited to meet both of you, Karen and Frank, having heard about you through Chris and some of the work that you've done, which is really impressive. And so really have been looking forward to meeting with you and talking to you about this topic.
If you embrace the living wage program, if you make it part of your company, how do you identify potential clients that this will work with?
So Jeff, I can tackle that. And I think one of the things that we're focused on is really working with our clients and understanding what their core values are, what their mission and vision are, identifying that early on in a bidding opportunity, and then really engaging with them at a higher level to determine, how we can best incorporate that into an overall program.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to add to that. What's interesting is about a year ago, a nonprofit organization that we service actually came to us and said, what can we do about paying 100% of the employees' health insurance? And I said, well, right now, we are covering a portion of it. Let's be strategic in what this looks like. And they actually incorporated it into their program and into the contract. And it's amazing how that team just turned around, and it gets thousands of visits a year, and they are just so proud of identifying themselves as doing the right thing for their contractors across the board, and partnering with customers like that already are understanding the difference that it makes. It goes a long way. So it's nice to see that it's starting off slowly. But we definitely would want to be able to identify corporations that want to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely, if I could just add to that, Jeff, it's so important. So many corporations now have ESG goals, and the number one issue, just even referring to a recent study that was put out by Just Capital, is living wage. This is, it's not a new issue. It's been around for a long time, but I think really the focus on it and the attention to it has, especially, this year with how, all of the things going on in the labor market, it's really a focus and a really top priority issue for a lot of companies.
So I know I mentioned this earlier. We had a previous recording about the nuts and bolts of the proposals, and I'll make sure folks can see that below. But maybe someone could touch on this. How do you get all of this into a proposal? Biko, I imagine that Living Wage for Us has a support system. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's really what, why we exist and why we started this program is, there's a lot of data out there, and what we wanted to do is take the guesswork out of it, right, for companies that want to do living wage. And so what we've done is we've taken the work that we've been engaged in for many years globally, and there's now very much a consensus around the definition, how you do living wage benchmarks. Now, as an employer, if you're looking for data, you can go out there and find different types of cost of living calculators. But what we wanted to do is really build a program that helps employers, from beginning to end, walk you through that process. How do I do that? What numbers do I use, right? How do I figure out, especially if you're like your company working in so many different locations and so many different states, how do I navigate all of that, right? Because there's so much complexity. So what we wanted to do is take on that complexity, take care of the research. And then what we actually do is we have living wage benchmarks calculated county by county. Information is available on our website. Now that said, the other piece is that in the US, a really complex piece is benefits. So if you're just looking at cash wages, that's one piece of it, but then how do you factor in your benefits, and how does that compare against the cost of living? How does it factor into the living wage? So we provide tools and support to help walk you through that whole process, whether you want to be certified. That's absolutely one option. Is, we have a standard and we say, this is the process that you walk through, identify your locations, your positions. You can use our online tools to input your information, and it gives you, an analysis that shows where are you today. Maybe I'm already at the living wage at the tier 1, or maybe I'm already at the tier 2, or maybe I'm not there yet. But having that analysis is the first step then to work with you to look at, well, what are the different options for how we can bridge that gap if there is indeed a gap.
So getting this all together, all that support is there. But Frank, I want to talk to you now. You're the Chief Operating Officer. So I imagine what you pay for your expenses, labor to do the work concerns you.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about all this and paying more to your people?
Yeah, it's something that we fully embrace. And, we also work very closely with a lot of the labor unions within the Gensan space. And this has been, a topic that, current wages just are not keeping up with demand. And so the option to be able to partner and give an alternate proposal that, pays our teammates a living wage is something that we highly encourage. We actually submitted our first response to an RFP in the past 10 days, utilizing the website for the Living Wage Foundation, the data that was there. And we found it to be very useful and resourceful. And this particular client engaged in that conversation. So there's no outcome yet, but it was a learning opportunity for us, and one that within our organization, we've embraced.
Okay. And Karen, you're the president, so obviously you wanted to work financially and for I like teammates, by the way. That's nice. Not workers, not employees.
Teammates, our teammates.
Never.
Teammates. So you're on board, Karen, obviously with this as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually almost seeing the vision come through of why Bravo was created, and being able to, what a perfect formula is having happy employees, happy customers. It's just good business acumen, and it's a win-win for everyone. So it just makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And we're not talking about a local operation. I understand you operate in how many states?
We're national
currently
at this point.
Yeah.
Under the KBS company. Yeah.
Okay. And Frank, what were you going to say?
Sorry.
I'd say the Bravo brand itself is, touching 4,000 teammates, and overall throughout the U.S. with KBS, we have over 40,000 teammates. So the footprint's pretty large.
Wow, that's amazing. So nice. All right. So I'm not sure who can answer this question, but let's say you get the contract, you put out their proposal, you get the contract. What are the next steps with working with the new client? Is there anything we should know about there?
I think when it comes to, the living wage is really just understanding existing staff that would be coming over to, the BSC or recruitment, working with our HR teams internally, tracking and reporting, I think is going to be very important to, our clients as well. And just constantly engaging with our team to be able to understand, the impact that a program like this has.
Great.
And Biko,
It'll be a
anything?
good benchmark.
So go ahead, Karen. You're about
I was
to-
just going to say it's going to be a great benchmark to share with them in their business reviews, right? So
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was just going to add that, we recently, because the program is fairly new, we just launched last year. And one of the first things that we did was work with the IDH, which is an organization based in the Netherlands that a lot of multinationals use as a reference point to understand, where to go for credible benchmarks to use for living wage. And so now that our program has been recognized and we're listed there, that's opened up a lot of opportunities for us to start working with multinational companies. We're already working with a lot of, larger kind of Fortune 500 companies, all the way down to, local smaller organizations that are based in single locations. So our program is really designed for that whole range of companies that we're working with. And so in terms of, in terms of the opportunity there, we're still in early stages. And that's why I'm particularly excited to talk to Karen and Frank and Jeff to keep this conversation going, to build on the conversation that you had earlier with Michelle, as we really want to work with the Gensan industry, with BSC contractors, to understand, how can we work with you to help you with your customers, but also to help your customers, right? Because we see a lot of companies now are coming through, and especially for those companies that are going for certification, or if they're going for business affiliate program with us, they're going to be looking for contractors, because that is part of their program, and they're going to want to make sure that, their own operations, but also their contractors are part of the, a part of that program and meet the living wage.
So far we've talked about basically how a building service contractor can work a living wage program into their proposal to get new work, right? What about if you already have a client? And I know Bravo has lots of clients out there. Can this be implemented into an existing relationship?
Oh, I think so, Jeff. And I think, the wages has been at the forefront really of our industry for a long time, but in particular over the last probably 12 to 18 months, based on the current labor market. And so we've been working with many of our clients specifically on increase in wages for teammates. And so that, and we've been able to do that mid-contract term and, just as market conditions require. And so many of our clients are partnering with us, continue to partner with us with a high focus on wages. I had a meeting with a client yesterday that's a multinational to specifically understand, what's driving wages, what can we do to ensure that we are recruiting the absolute best. And that is definitely a focus that we're having with many clients.
I was talking to a contractor yesterday about how they got undercut. Someone came in and took a contract from them. So would you say, and maybe Karen, you could speak to this, that if you're engaged in a living wage relationship with a client, that makes it a stronger relationship?
I think it's a catch-22. I think what it does introduce is an opportunity to possibly start to re-engineer the way things are being done in the building, whether through technology or AI or different things that could be introduced, as well as making sure that everyone, is being paid, a living wage. So I think it increases the conversation with your customer. Because I do feel that if you're not paying attention right now to your customers and what's happening right now, if there's a lot of turnaround in your staff, I think there's a missing opportunity there, and it's an opportunity to bring it, how maybe we could right size the way the building is being managed today.
Yeah, to me, it seems like if you have a customer, a client, and they see you taking care of your team members, if they know you care, that has to mean something with the entire relationship.
Exactly.
Oh, I think so. I think it demonstrates the level of commitment that you have to your own teammates, to the client, and and really working together in a true partnership.
Yeah.
And Biko, anything to add to that?
Good. Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, it's a huge signal, right? Of your company's values, and I know you talk a lot about your commitment to excellence, right, in your business and your performance, and part of that is your, as a company, commitment to your team members, right?
Absolutely.
And so that signal goes both ways, both externally with your clients, but also with your own team internally.
Exactly. And as much as we, it's always our goal to be competitive, generally, we're not that lowest bidder. We're coming in, right where we need to be in order to perform the right job. And our customers know that. And, sometimes you have to also know when to walk away from a project that sometimes it just doesn't make sense. So, and we do that. We're not out there on these low bid situations and environments that just do not fit within, the way we value our business and putting our employees, having them do something that we wouldn't do ourselves. That's something that, we really, really take pride in. If we wouldn't do that job, how can we make someone else do it? And for that low wage. So, there's unfortunate circumstances out there, and sometimes we just, will walk away from those situations as well. Yeah.
So let's say you do this and you want the living wage program to be part of your process as a contractor. Do you offer it to everyone, or do you be selective? What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think our approach is one that would be selective and really being able to look at our client base, understand their missions and where there's a true opportunity to implement right away. And that's exactly what we're doing now. And so, focus on those clients where we think that we can make an immediate impact and then continuously just educate and work with those other clients where we think that, there may be opportunity in the future.
And Biko, you were going to say something.
Great. Yeah, no, sorry about that, Frank. Yeah, and just to add to that, there are many different ways that we can support you as a business also in your living wage journey, right? And in particular, when it comes to BSCs working with your clients, there's anything from going full in with certification. You could certify your whole company, right? That's one option. And one of our first companies that joined the program actually is a home cleaning company, services cleaning company based in Washington, D.C. called Well Paid Maids. That's their entire business model is based around their entire operation being certified. So that's one option. The other option is you can also go site by site, client by client. And we also have an option where we work with companies that are under the business, we call business affiliate program. And that allows us to work with companies that are not ready to go in for the full organization, especially for larger companies. We recognize it's going to take time. We hope we're going to be pushing in that direction, maybe in 3-5 years time. Maybe that's something that becomes more possible as we push, as we move the entire industry. But we also recognize that we start with small steps, and so we're absolutely happy to work with with you, different companies in whatever makes the most sense for your business.
Absolutely.
What about if you have a building you're taking care of, a big building? I'm no contractor myself, so I'm going to ask maybe a dumb question, but obviously in that building, you might have different ones you work for on the 12th floor, on the 8th floor, whatever. So how do you deal with that when it comes to working with different tenants?
Yeah, I think those multi-tenanted facilities on the commercial side are probably the most challenging. Really understanding, and in various buildings, you can have 20 to 50 different tenants within that facility. And so I think working with that tenant, but also working with the real estate owner and the property management firms, what we wouldn't want to do is be able to have a different wage for different folks within one facility. We'd really want it to be consistent, across the board. And so, in our own portfolio, I think that's where, one of the challenges lies for us. And our initial focus would be more on the larger end user type environments.
However, I feel, Frank, I think it is doable, because what we've done in the past is we've also bridged that gap to be able to give a 3, 4, 5-year budget in order to get to certain milestones of increases. So whether it's in a union environment or a non-union environment of where the customer could be. So it's really also helping to try to, bridge that gap and work with that customer and put those budgets in place. And that could possibly, check off the tenant being happy with that approach. And, we know by 2024, they're going to get to this point, so it's setting those goals and, setting that in sight. So it's really that communication, but one tenant could probably make a huge difference in one multi-tenant facility, for sure.
Could be infectious. Who knows?
Yeah.
So listen, this is great information. We appreciate it. And let's do this. Maybe in the future, we'll have you three come back and tell us what happened with your next steps. And, down the road, we'll touch base.
We'd love to.
All right.
I'd love to do that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.